They needed to do it this way. All the bank accounts and the jobs all at the same time. You imagine the airports otherwise?
Run!
No, please don't take her. No!
You girls will serve the leaders.
Oh, well, the rule that I set myself for The Handmaid's Tale was that nothing goes in this that doesn't have a precedent somewhere in history or in real life right now.
The vote in Alabama to essentially outlaw abortion in that state has sparked immediate reaction. Protesters evoking The Handmaid's Tale are surrounding the state house.
They are ladies in red, looking like extras from the TV show The Handmaid's Tale.
This time when I was captured, I was sent to a new household where Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Lawrence did not subject me to any rapes, at great risk to their own lives. But Mr. Waterford later arranged for me to be raped by Mr. Lawrence as a test of loyalty.
They took her daughter, her name, her freedom. Every month they forced her to participate in a ritual meant to degrade her. Her body was no longer her own. Her silence was enforced by law, by fear, by the constant threat of violence. Yet June didn't break. This is not just a story of survival, it's a story of resistance. June Osborne, trapped inside the totalitarian regime of Gilead, became a symbol. While others were silenced, she kept thinking, observing, remembering, and that act alone was rebellion. So why didn't June break when others did? Why did she keep fighting when it would have been easier, safer, not to? In this video, we'll follow June's journey from mother and wife to revolutionary. We'll explore the tactics of Gilead, the emotional trauma, and the moments where June could have disappeared into obedience, but chose not to. June's story is personal, but it speaks to something bigger, the will to remain human in a world designed to erase your humanity. Who was June before Gilead?
My name is June Osborne. Fred Waterford and Serena Joy Waterford imprisoned me, beat me, and raped me. I came to the Waterfords' house in 2017. It was my second posting. A few days after my arrival, I was summoned to the drawing room, where I was asked to kneel in front of the Waterfords, as witnessed by their housekeeper Rita Blue and their driver Nick Blaine.
Before the red dress, before the silent walks, before the name Offred, she was June Osborne. She had a job, a husband, and a daughter. She lived in a world like ours. She worried about school schedules, not survival. She debated politics over coffee, not with her life on the line. June was outspoken, joyful, flawed, and free. What happened to her wasn't instant. The world changed slowly, rights disappeared under the guise of safety, neighbours complied, friends vanished, and before she could react, June was on the run, her identity stripped, her relationships erased, her body controlled. But memory matters. June remembered who she was, her love for Hannah, her life with Luke. That memory kept her sane. It anchored her. In Gilead, forgetting is survival, but remembering is resistance. June's refusal to forget who she was, even in the darkest moments, is the foundation of her fight. Even when her name was forbidden, it echoed inside her. June, June, June. How Gilead tried to break her.
You girls will serve the leaders and their barren wives. You will bear children for them.
Gilead doesn't just take away your rights, it rewrites your reality. June was stripped of her name and her voice. She became Offred, property of her commander. The clothes she wore, the words she spoke, even her thoughts were regulated. To survive, she had to submit. But inside, she resisted. The ceremony, ritualized rape, was the centerpiece of her subjugation. Witnessed by the commander's wife, blessed by scripture, this act was meant to reduce June to a vessel, not a person. Yet June held on to her identity. She was separated from Hannah, a mother forced to pretend her child no longer existed. That psychological torture could have broken anyone. She lived surrounded by spies. Even friends could be eyes. Every word could be betrayal. Fear was constant. And yet, June endured. Gilead tried to erase June, but every time she whispered her name to herself, she reclaimed a piece of it. She learned when to be silent and when to push back. The system tried to mold her, but she never fit. She was watching, waiting, and she never stopped being herself. Why June kept fighting? What kept June going wasn't ideology, it was love. Her fight wasn't political, it was personal. Every risk, every rebellion was for Hannah. June believed her daughter needed to know that her mother never gave up, that she was still fighting, that she still loved her. Even inside a regime designed to break the spirit, June found moments of choice, small ones, whether to look someone in the eye, whether to speak or stay silent, whether to take a step forward when it would have been safer to freeze. And with each small choice, she regained a part of herself. Others gave up, some out of fear, others out of necessity. But June didn't. Her fire didn't dim. She turned her fear into focus, her pain into purpose. June chose not to let Gilead decide who she would become. She refused to disappear into the red cloak and white bonnet. She remembered, she dreamed, and she planned. And that made her dangerous. She stayed alive, not just in body, but in soul. That's what makes her resistance so powerful. How June began to undermine the system.
For years, we've been afraid of them. Now it's time for them to be afraid of us.
June's resistance wasn't loud. It wasn't public. At first, it was hidden in looks, in silence, in thoughts she refused to surrender. Then came action. She collected letters from other handmaids, testimonies of pain and injustice. She hid them. She smuggled them out. She made Gilead's crimes visible. She built trust with the Marthas, the invisible women of Gilead, who carried secrets and risks. With them, she created small cracks in the wall. She learned the system's blind spots, the commander's arrogance, the aunt's obsession with order. She manipulated, adapted, and defied them quietly. Resistance wasn't a dramatic revolution. It was survival turned into sabotage. June used the role Gilead forced on her as a weapon against it. She played obedient, but never was. She was the eye within the storm, the spy who never stopped being herself. With each act of defiance, she sent a message, not just to her enemies, but to herself. You can't erase me. I'm still here. I am June. Why June's anger became her weapon. Anger in Gilead is dangerous. It marks you as unstable, unpredictable, and ultimately disposable. But June's anger became her fuel. It sharpened her focus and kept her alert. In a world that demanded silence and obedience, her fury reminded her she was still alive. Anger gave her clarity. It helped her see the truth behind the lies. The so-called blessings, the false piety, the ceremonies, they were all tools of control. Her rage cut through them. She used that fire not just to endure, but to push back. She protected others when she could. She smuggled messages. She resisted silently, then openly. June's defiance was no longer hidden. It became contagious. Others saw her strength and remembered their own. Her rage became a signal that you didn't have to surrender, that you could still feel, still resist, still fight. Gilead tried to weaponize fear. June weaponized truth. Her anger was never blind, it was guided by justice. and that made her unstoppable. How June inspired others. June's power extended far beyond her own survival. Her courage lit a path for others. Moira escaped because June gave her hope. Emily returned to fight because June reminded her who she was. Even Serena, her oppressor, began to question her place in the regime. June didn't need a title to lead. She led through example. She endured, she resisted, and she remembered. And in doing so, she showed others that Gilead's control wasn't absolute. The Marthas began to trust her. The Mayday network grew stronger. The handmaids, once silent, began to whisper again. She showed them that pain could unite, that even small acts of defiance mattered. She gave others something Gilead tried to erase: hope. In a society built on isolation, June became a symbol of unity. Her name, once forbidden, carried meaning. Her presence reminded others that Gilead hadn't won. June inspired a quiet revolution, one built not on armies, but on memory, on connection, on truth. And that was more dangerous than any gun. Why June fights for memory, not just freedom. June doesn't just fight to escape. She fights to remember and to be remembered. In Gilead, forgetting is survival. You're told to forget your name, your past, your pain. But June refuses. She carries her memories like armor, her husband, her daughter, her life before. She fights so Hannah will know who her mother was. So the world will know what Gilead did. So no other woman will ever be forced to endure what she did. Freedom isn't just physical escape, it's mental clarity, emotional truth, the ability to name your own experience. June doesn't want a future built on denial. She wants one built on truth. She doesn't want revenge, she wants restoration. Her fight is for all the women who were silenced, for every story buried under Gilead's lies. June isn't just trying to survive, she's trying to bear witness, and that makes her fight sacred. The power of June. June Osborne is not a superhero. She's not perfect, she's angry, she's traumatized, she's human. But in Gilead, being human is radical. She proves that even in a system built to erase you, you can hold on to your identity. That resistance doesn't always wear armor. It sometimes wears a red dress and a bonnet. June's story is a warning, but also a beacon. It reminds us that oppression begins slowly, that silence is complicity, and that the fight for dignity starts with remembering who you are. She didn't need weapons to be dangerous. She needed memory, love, and will. June never broke, and because of her, others rose. In the end, she became something more than a survivor. She became a symbol of the very thing Gilead feared most: a woman who remembers, a woman who fights, a woman who is still free inside.